And welcome back. And we're now at part 3, holding 3 fingers, of New Comics, bitches! So, those of you who really wanted to see my teeth, well, I'm sure will appreciate that one. Scary. Okay. You'll notice that I don't have a lot of physical issues with me right now. The reason for that I'll get into later, but I took notes. Aquaman number 2. It's becoming apparent to me that ultimately Aquaman, essentially, he's like the Rodney Dangerfield of the DC Comics universe. He don't get no respect. Hey. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, he's such a disrespected character just in like all of popular culture. Every, Robot Chicken makes fun of him, Family Guy makes fun of him, Entourage made fun of him, everybody makes fun of Aquaman. But this is Jeff Johns' fight to get Aquaman some fucking respect. And guess what? It's working! This is Jeff Johns. I mean, as far as his work in the New 52, you could set most of that other stuff on fire, and I wouldn't miss it. Justice League, it's very, again, very autopilot. It's like he was just taking scripts from other comics and just, it's like he just put it into a machine, said, this is how I kind of want this to go. Give me some, comic making machine, give me some dialogue. And then, puts it out there and Jim Lee draws it. And draws the hell out of it. And it's great. I don't even care about Green Lantern anymore as far as Hal Jordan and what Jeff Johns is doing there, because the first issue was just so god-awful. But this is the one. This is the Jeff Johns that needs to come back. But I actually appreciate the fact that he seems to be paying a lot more attention to storytelling with Aquaman, a character that normally would be where one would consider where I myself am thinking of Justice League and Green Lantern. These are, those, we got a flagship title, and, Jeff Johns is, this is like his claim to fame title in Green Lantern, and the flagship title of Justice League, and these would be the ones you just, oh man, I can't wait until the next one. I can't wait until the next one. And, Aquaman would just be, he'd be out there written by whoever, and no one would really care, because it's Aquaman, right? So no one should care. But guess what? I totally do now. I totally love this Aquaman. I mean, this is great stuff. One of the things that I really admire about this is that it is kind of self-referential. It does have that kind of self-deprecating humor almost throughout. Aquaman and Aquawoman, and how Mara keeps being called Aquawoman, and it really fucks her off, and that's cool. Again, that he's just kind of just getting dissed like every minute of every day by the outside people, but he's trying, he and Mira are trying to make a go of it on land. So they're kind of abandoning the whole, Atlantis, King of Atlantis thing, because, frankly, that shit was getting old. So, Jeff Johns said, you know what, I'm not going to, kind of reboot this character. I'm just going to give him a different set. I'm going to do away with, some of the impediments to having Aquaman being a more relatable character. Having him on land makes him ultimately more relatable. It's just like when Thor spent, if like Thor was to spend all of his time up in Asgard, it would distance myself emotionally from the character, so I couldn't get into that person said, okay, well, that's kind of how I would feel in this situation. So so it's the same kind of thing. You do have to do away with some of the with some of the, very familiar things that have made a character, that have defined a character. And this comic does. It really does. I mean, and for one, and also these creatures are really fucking scary. I mean, this is like nightmare shit. Because those fish that have that little glowy thing that these creatures are essentially emulating, that design just is terrifying. If I were to see that fish up close, which will never happen, hopefully, but if I were to ever see one of those things, I would be like, oh my god! I'd be swimming away as fast as I could, because I think, okay, this thing is going to eat me whole. So again, this is just, like, I can't say enough about, this run of Aquaman. That, Jeff Johns just doing his best work, period, on the new 52, and Ivan Reis's art, just terrific. It's just gorgeous. I mean, just all in all, this book is about as close to a great superhero comic book as Jeff Johns can get. Which is not to say that he's a subpar writer by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that he can be a little bit up and a little bit down, and so it's. But this is top-notch stuff. So, excellent work. The Ultimates, number 3. Or Ultimate Comics Ultimates, number 3. So here we've got, Jonathan Hickman, just going balls out with this comic. And one of the things that I admire so much about this version of the Ultimates is that, and pretty much all of the versions of the Ultimates, from Mark Millar and Brian Hitch's stuff, with the exception of Jeff Loeb and Joe Mad's stuff, because I fucking couldn't stand that, Ultimates 3. It was garbage. It was trash. I hated Ultimatum 2. Thought that was garbage. But there was something about Ultimatum that actually made me want to read all of the Ultimatum titles. But anyway, it's, more or less done with. I mean, obviously it's still referenced, but anyway. Hickman knows that this is a story that he could never tell in 616 Earth. So basically he's saying to himself, okay, I'm going to use these the tropes of the of Shield and of Iron Man and Thor and Nick Fury, and I'm going to really, really expand them and just go nuts with them. And he does. For instance, when, in Tony's armor room, he has kind of an Iron Thor costume for him, and it's awesome. And, it's just such a great idea. And this is the war between Shield and the Tomorrow People. It has gravitas, and it has power, and it's truly frightening. This is quote unquote an Omega level threat, and when they go into battle and they lose, Shield loses to these to the Tomorrow People, and it kind of. And there's this great moment where I believe this is Paco Medina doing the art on this. I forgot to write it down. But whoever the artist is, no, it's Ribic on this. Whoever the artist is tremendous, and does a great job of conveying that look of defeat in Nick Fury. It's not even. It's not even like a defiant Nick Fury. He's just slumped out. He's just kind of slumped down, and this is like his first real experience with just defeat. I have had the living shit kicked out of me. I've lost hundreds of my people, and with helicarriers, here and here and here getting blown away, and I have got to sound the retreat. God, I don't want to. It's just it's like everything just kind of drains out of his body, and you see that in the art. That's so hard to convey real real emotion in art like that. And the artist for Ultimates does it incredibly well. Just that one panel, just terrific work. And so, I mean, this is, again, another terrific comic for this week. This is a tough week, man, because there's some really good shit out there this week. And I've talked a lot about a lot of that good shit. So, let's move on to some more good shit. Let's talk about Angel and Faith, number 3. Again, so this is Christos Gage and Rebecca Isaacs, and Joss Whedon overseeing. Christos Gage is actually a really, really good writer for Angel and Faith, because he gets the Whedonverse. He does, he fits in very well with the Whedonverse. This is not as strong as Buffy, the Buffy comic. I will say that it's not as strong, but it's really good. Because this is essentially, it's more of a tie-in to, this doesn't have quite as much of its own identity as Buffy does, because it even says, right here, season 9, that is more of a tie-in to Buffy, because these are, events that specifically spawned out of Buffy season 9. And, of course, with Angel becoming Twilight and being possessed by Twilight and killing Giles. And this book has been, so far, basically about, well, you have these two characters now. Instead of it just being Angel, it's now Angel and Faith, who are two characters both kind of in this desperate determination to get redemption for the bad shit that they've done throughout their lives. So to have these two teamed together is actually a terrific, great idea, and I love it. So we've got, basically, they're looking for Mora blood, because, not only to stop its trafficking, but to also, look at resurrecting Giles. Now, the Mora blood, if you think, if people who've watched Angel, who watched the show Angel, which I actually preferred season to season as a whole, over Buffy, because it just had a stronger voice, in my opinion, and it had a stronger supporting cast, and it also had Wes, who I'm really missing in this book, because Wesley Wyndham-Pryce is, as I have contended forever, is the greatest character in the entire Whedonverse. I mean, if you look at that character's arc throughout, I mean, what a transformation. So anyway, and I love Alexis Denisov. But anyway, but if you watched, Angel, and he, specifically in the I Will Remember You episode, where he gets splashed with the Mora blood, and he becomes human, and he's finally able to love Buffy, in a physical sense, and in an emotional sense, but because he's human, he can't do the things that he could do as a vampire. He can't be the kick-ass guy, so he needs to kind of cleanse himself of that, and ultimately asks them to reset that day, but, he asks so he can remember the day, but he wants Buffy to forget it, because he doesn't want Buffy waiting around for him. So, again, that Mora blood does that. We've got, talk about Shanshu prophecy, we've got talk about, still resurrecting Giles, and how bad of an idea that is. We obviously, redemption is a constant theme in this book, and I love how Faith has actually kind of become like the moral compass of this book. She's actually the sensible one now. She's always been the crazy off-the-wall one, but now she has all sorts of responsibilities. So, terrific read, great stuff. So stay tuned, and we'll be back with part 4. So stay around.